Hello, Robinson-Tiedemann here, aka Cree. I'm a certified human design analyst and life coach, and this is HD Thursday. Welcome! HD Thursday is a weekly human design learning segment. It's inspired by my Collective Perspective membership, or the CP for short. And this is a monthly membership community all about cultivating internal self-leadership. It's centered on the art of contemplation, human design experimentation, and we practice bringing the unconscious into the conscious, learning through lived experience to live intentionally in authentic alignment. Welcome in. Happy Thursday. Get yourself a lovely beverage. Cheers to you. Thank you for being here with me. As you come in, please say hi. I love when we can interact with each other. Let me know your type, if you know your type, and let me know, are you brand new to human design? How long have you been in your experimentation, if you've been in your experimentation? And maybe anything else that's pertinent to your week. Just tell us something fun about you for this week. So before we jump into our topic, and we are continuing a new series, the Authority series. So we are covering human design authorities, and this is one of the 4 pillars of your human design body graph. And if you scroll up, you go back and you look through the HD Thursdays, you'll see one of the first ones that I did was the 4 pillars of your human design body graph. And that's a great place to start. So the authority is the way that you make decisions. This is the way that each different type has a specific way that they make decisions. And that's what we're continuing this week with the next most common authority after emotional authority, which we covered last week. So before we jump into anything, I think that it is very helpful if you follow along with your own chart. And so the way that you can do that is if you go to the description box and scroll down, and you will see a link to my favorite engine to bring up your human design body graph. You're going to need your birth information. You're going to need your birth date, of course, the exact time, and the city and the country. Put that all in, bring up your chart, grab yourself something refreshing, and then let's jump in. And let me know how you're doing. Thank you for spending your Thursday with me. So I'm really excited about today because it is Sacral Authority. And I work with a lot of sacral individuals, meaning a lot of generators and manifesting generators. That was a pop quiz. You passed. You got that. Only generators and manifesting generators can have a sacral authority. They could also have an emotional authority. And that is the most common authority, would be the emotional authority. 51% of people actually have an emotional authority. And then after that, if you were a generator or a manifesting generator, you can have a sacral authority. And the sacral authority is really, really special. I love talking about it. I love generators. I love talking about it because it's very simple, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. And something that is really challenging that I work on a lot with clients is really understanding how the sacral works. So we're going to try to break this down, make it fun. At any time, if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have anything, just pop it into the chat, okay? And I will do my best to get to any questions that come up. All right, let's take one more sip, and then we're going to jump in. Actually, let's start off the week with self in practice. So I'm going to share a little bit about what I've been working on this week. And the foundation of everything that I do has its spirituality. So even though human design is one of my major tools, and I use parts work in my one-on-one coaching, my life coaching, at the foundation of all of this is really a strong spiritual foundation. And so anything that I'm sharing with you in my own practice, it's not really disconnected from human design. It all ties in together. I think that so many different modalities, so many different belief systems, so many different tools can be put together to work really, really well. And so what has been coming up in my experiment this week is around courage. So in my membership, we're contemplating Gene Key 14, which is all about prosperity. This is a major prosperity gene key, or a major prosperity gate. And something that I've been stepping into recently very powerfully is courage, because the gene key that we've been talking about is all about prosperity coming through the authentic work that you do, not just like hard work, but it's like passionate work. It's like being unafraid to do your thing, put yourself out there, be unique, be like, this is the energy that we're talking about. And this anchor came through for me, this image of like kind of like an anchor, or two ends supporting each other. And it was the idea that I am willing to fail. And this is actually going to tie in really beautifully to our topic today with the Sacral Authority, because I think one of the things that a lot of people struggle with a Sacral Authority is just trusting, is just moving past the conditioning that we have of a certain way we're supposed to operate in the world. And so having such devotion to myself, my passion, my gift, my purpose here on the planet, what just following this, knowing this, that this is supposed to mean something. This is supposed to be purposeful. It takes courage. And so what I realized is that I am willing to fail all along the way to my success. And so on the other side of that anchor, or these two poles that I feel like really implant me in the frequency of prosperity, is this willingness to fail with all of my heart, like keep going, which really means I realize like I can't actually fail because it never ends. I'll never stop. I'll always keep trying. I'll always keep learning. I choose to be a person who learns, whether through contrast or validation. One way or another, I learn something, I apply it. I am willing to fail. And on the other end is this beautiful saying, actually, that I learned from an amazing coach out there named Melanie Ann Lair. But it's the saying that money comes to me always, and money comes to me always, always. So an always, always. And it was just this acceptance. If you guys have been hanging out with me for a couple of weeks, I talked about having a pretty tough transition into my new place. Hubs and I moved, and it really uprooted me. I didn't realize how kind of grounded I was in my old home. And even though it's like bigger and better things, it felt really destabilizing. And I had some icky moments and weeks, and grumpiness and moodiness, and a lot of bitterness, and, just not great energy. And it's this idea where no matter, we're human. We come with a full range of emotions. Check out the Emotional Authority call last week. Full range of emotions, like just we are these sensational beings, meaning like we are responding in sensation and energy in all of these ways, and it's complex, and it's layered. And the idea that as soon as I'm not perfect, I'm no longer allowed to attract abundance is something that a lot of us struggle with. And it's definitely something that I think has generationally been passed down in my family. And so yesterday, my mom and my sibling and I had this incredible celebration that's actually making me emotional thinking about it. I was upstairs on our roof with this beautiful view of the city, and we just cheers to each other and celebrated each other. We have been doing a bi-weekly call with each other about spirituality and personal growth for 9 years. And we just celebrated how far we've come, especially in the area of abundance and prosperity, and the massive shifts that we're seeing in our lives, and what we're able to hold and attract, and then what we're able to do, the people that we're becoming. And it was just so moving. And a huge part of that is tied to, yes, what am I willing to do? But not in this slave energy, but in this complete commitment to my heart and soul, this willingness to fail. And on the other end is a knowingness that no matter the state that I'm in, even on my worst hair days, my grumpiest days, my worst bad breath days, like whatever it is days, money can still come to me always, always. And so that was what really anchored in for me this week, and it felt really special. And if there's any little tidbit of something for you, something to contemplate in there, that is my greatest wish. If you want to share something that you have been contemplating or working towards for you in your own experimentation this week, pop it into the chat. We would love to see it. And if you're watching on the replay, put it in the comments. This is a community that we're building, so everyone is benefits from your shares. So if this seems like it's disconnected from human design is the science of differentiation. It has to do with how you live your life. The point of everything that we jump into when it comes to human design is for you to walk in alignment in your life, for you to show up as your most authentic self. We can't separate that from what we need to live in our existence. The very first HD Thursday that I did was the ego center. And the ego center is all about support of the tribe. And something that a lot of people are surprised about is how many aspects of the ego center have to do with money. Money. It's inherent within us, this support, this contribution, this continuing of the tribe. So money is not disconnected from your alignment. Any topic literally is connected to human design because everything has to do with your alignment here on the planet. In your design, you feel like you're here for big things. You're here for big things. If you feel like I'm meant to like be massively prosperous because I just know I'm meant to do something with this money, guarantee I can find that in your chart. So nothing is disconnected from human design when it comes to your alignment. And alignment is you operating in this world in your highest frequency. That in terms of a human design concept, my hope for you, my goal, my purpose for doing this is to help you in any way, shape, or form to be more authentically in alignment with yourself. And so a lot of the stuff that I see come up in coaching when I'm working with people's charts is around connecting to prosperity, is around connecting to abundance. It's a massive part. Back in the day, when we look at the ego center, a lot of that support is like, it wasn't necessarily money. It was like trading goods. It was the ability, the salesman, the ability to be able to express the benefits of the tribe so that they can interact and trade with another tribe. It might not have been money, but that's literally in your design. And this is just the new age version of all of that support really comes down to money. So none of this is disconnected. So in my own experiment, in my own intentional move towards consciously showing up in my life in a way that is in alignment, that is most authentic to me, one of the major things I've had to address is my limiting beliefs around money and abundance and prosperity. So just know that nothing is disconnected from your design. And a lot of people that I've read for have what we call exalted money channels in their chart, but they don't know it. Some of the people who have the biggest wounds around abundance and prosperity have exalted money channels in their chart. So that is a very cool thing to look at when you get a reading. Okay. Are we ready? Are we ready to jump into our topic? I hope you have your wonderful cocktail. Again, pop in any questions whatsoever if anything's coming up, okay? As we go through this. Let me take a little sippy sip. All right. We are talking about, I'm topping myself up. Sacral Authority. All right. All my generators and everyone who knows a generator. Who is everyone? Okay. We're talking about the sacral authority. So to begin, authority. What is authority? Authority is how you make decisions. Every single one of us has a place, a way that our bodies shows us what is right for us, not right for us. There is an actual physical place in the body that is your reliable source for decisions. We are conditioned in our society to use our minds to make decisions. And this is the biggest job of learning your human design. The biggest work is that your body holds the wisdom, your mind is here for fun. And we've had it backwards for a long freaking time. And so the more that we learn to rely upon these senses that we were given, and we all know that there are more senses than what we can consciously recognize, because every single one of us has experienced at least once in our life where I'm like, I just had a feeling about that thing and I don't know what it was. And you listened to it and you were like, holy crap, I was right. Like, we all know. Well, there are different ways that that shows up in your body. And depending on your type, depending on the definition in your chart, meaning which ones are colored in, which centers are colored in, and which centers are not, there is a place or a way that your body tells you what's right for you, helps you to make decisions, okay? It's your guide. That is what authority is. Last week, we talked about the emotional authority, which is what most people have. Next is the sacral authority. And so it means if you have a sacral authority, then of course you have this sacral center. That's the square down at the, not the bottom square, the one above that, the one that makes you a generator or manifesting generator. You have to have that defined in order to have a sacral authority. If you don't have the emotional center defined, but you have the sacral center defined, you have a sacral authority. Okay? And so everything is correlated biologically, right? So last week, the emotional center was correlated to the nervous system. That makes perfect sense. The sacral authority is what makes people a generator. What makes people a generator? Why are they even called a generator? It's because it's this consistent energy. It's a motor in the body, and the most consistent motor. It just hums like a generator, like it has all this potential energy accessible at any time. And so it is highly creative. This is the energy of life. Like this is the energy of like making babies. So the biological correlation to the sacral is the reproductive system, the ovaries and the testes. Okay. It's about creativity. This is the most creative center in the human design body graph. And so that's going to extend beyond life, but at the root of it, it's because it's the center that creates life. So there are channels there connecting to from the sacral that are the most fertile channels. And as we know about not self energy, and not self energy is exactly what it sounds like, not self, out of alignment. Anytime we're talking about not self, you're going to see the opposite of the ideal. So another thing that you might see when people are out of alignment and have a sacral authority are like reproductive issues. So you can see that in people that are undefined and overusing a center or have an impaired relationship with that open center. And you can also see it in people that have the defined center, but they deny a lot of aspects. You'll see reproductive issues, but that's the biological correlation. The ovaries, the testes, the reproductive system. So the most basic way for me to tell you how the sacral authority makes decisions is by a gut feeling. Sacral authority means your gut will tell you yes or no. This is the most physical of all of the authorities. This is the most simple as in it's not complex. Mind you, that doesn't mean that it's easy to understand. I'm definitely not saying it's easy to understand. It's almost more difficult to understand because of its simplicity. And in our society, we are conditioned and taught that things are always complicated. You make a pros and cons list. You ask a million questions. You should ask 15 people for their opinion. You should listen to your authority. You should do what so-and-so says. You should follow the rules. You should everything that makes it more complicated. So the idea that I got a gut feeling, though when anyone ever says gut feeling, no one's ever been like, what's that? You know what a gut feeling is. I don't even have to explain it more. You know what a gut feeling is. But the idea when we think about, so you're telling me that I'm going to base massive decisions in my life just off of a gut feeling? Are you insane? No, I'm not insane. I am a certified human design analyst. And that is the way that you're meant to make decisions. So most simply put, it's a gut feeling. But it is going to take experimentation for you to really understand and work with learning, communicating, listening to your body to figure out what does that actually feel like for you. Okay. So I love to use metaphors. The way that I was taught, the unique way that I was certified as a human design analyst was through the use of metaphors. It is, I think, one of the most powerful ways to understand these different aspects of the human design system. Okay. So the first metaphor I want to share with you is the concept of a gear shift. Okay. I don't know how to drive stick. I can only drive automatic, but the concept of it makes a lot of sense to me. So this might go over your head too if you only drive automatic. But for all of those who drive a stick shift, because one thing that I consistently see is that people that drive manual, they seem to freaking love it. So this might work for you, but I'm going to give more metaphors if this doesn't work for you. Think of a gear shift. So your sacral, it knows when to accelerate, when to coast, when to downshift. It is what actually releases the energy in your body. And forcing the wrong shift, we know, burns the engine out. Okay. So if we think of, I'm going to just give it to you really, really simply. The way that someone with a sacral authority is meant to make decisions is to listen to their gut response to a stimuli. If it's a question, do you want pizza for dinner tonight? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Ooh. Yeah. That feeling, that movement, that energetic response in a movement towards, in a energy filling the body, that is a sacral yes. If I said, do you want sushi for dinner tonight? And it's like, that is a sacral no. The body contracted, it moved away, there was a noise, there was like a If you get a that's an I don't know. This is the simplicity with which the sacral works. And so this metaphor of a gear shift is like the response is the actual driver. You are the car. You might want to go so fast, as fast as possible. But until you actually shift gears, meaning you have a and the energy releases, it doesn't matter how much you press that pedal to the metal. You might hear a noise, but at some point you're just making noise. You're you're just ruining the engine, but you're not actually going faster. This is how sacral energy works. It is released when it wants to do something. When the energy it has the energy to do something, it is released. And when it doesn't have the energy to do something, or it doesn't have the it's not released. And no matter how hard you push yourself to do it, because our mind can make us do things, it can make the body move. It's the same way as operating that car in the wrong gear. it doesn't, it's going to burn you out. It's going to burn you out. Okay. So, and pop into the chat anything if that's confusing, if you don't get it, if you do get it. All right. So another helpful analogy. The sacral authority is like the valve of a fire hose. I love this one. This one really makes it really, really clear for me. Okay. The wrong commitments kink off the hose or close the hose. Okay. If you just think of even your garden hose, anybody, when you were a kid, you guys sprayed the hose on each other, like running in the backyard. One of the things that we used to do is like someone's like spraying, like let's say, my sibling's spraying or whatever. Maybe my dad will come along and kink the hose, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, where'd all the water go? The water is not coming out. That is the sacral's That is, there's no release of it. There's no energy release. There was, the response was no. There's no energy. It doesn't matter if I'm holding the hose and I'm pointing it, it's not coming out. I can point it all I want. There's no energy. But with a sacral yes, with an with the right commitment, when the decision is the right decision, the energy, it flows out. Okay? So the right response is restore full pressure immediately when the wrong commitments choke off the flow. All right? Last week, we talked about in the emotional authority that there is no truth in the now. The sacral authority is the exact opposite. There is only truth in the now. The simplicity of the sacral, the voice of the sacral is yes, no, I don't know. That's it. That's it. And this is why, and I highly recommend, so a lot of the sacral authority overlaps with sacral response. Response is the strategy of a generator or a manifesting generator. And so if you go back to the type series and you watch the generator, manifesting generator episode, we talk in depth about the sacral response. Massive overlap with sacral authority. So anybody that has a sacral authority, also their strategy is to respond. These are very, very, very similar. I'm going to talk about in a little bit where the slight difference is, okay? Because all generators and manifesting generators have sacral response. It doesn't mean that that's your way of making decisions. The ultimate way of making decisions for you, you could be emotional, for example. You have two options. You're either emotional or you're sacral. And we talked about emotional. Check that one out from last week. So if you're a generator and you don't have the emotional center defined, your authority is just one step further, basically, from sacral response. Something we talked about with sacral response is yes, no questions. When we talked about communication, how do you communicate with a generator or a manifesting generator? One of the things that generator types struggle with is like people dump a whole bunch of information at them. They ask them this long-winded question and they're just like, and they have to use the mind. If you're speaking to a generator type and you're giving them the kind of question you'd ask a projector, how do you feel about the this and that and they're like, and then they'll force their mind to come up with an answer. But that's not like their true response. You're not activating response in that way because the sacral can only or I don't know. Okay. So it's a yes, it's a no, or it's an I don't know. It's really uncomplicated. And how uncomplicated it is, it can be pretty challenging. Because, for example, conditioning, a lot of times if you are a person with a sacral authority and you sit on a lot of decisions, like you really take a lot of time to make decisions, that's your conditioning. You're not designed. You're not designed to sit on your decisions. You are designed to listen to a or in the moment, in the now. If something is saying yes or no, it's in the now. So for example, if I ask a generator, do you want to go for a walk? And it's like, I mean, I'm just using very simple questions. Truly, like this should be a bigger life decision, right? So let's say it's like, do you want to do that job? Do you want to accept that job? And if it's like that means basically no for now. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no for now. And so it's that simple. It's either like, yeah, I do. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, no, but it's like all the way across the country. No, but how are we supposed to arrange that? Oh my gosh, but it's less money. No, I can't take a pay cut. Like that's not going to work for me. That is the mind's chatter. Your sacral said, uh-huh. Okay? So it's very, very simple. And an it's like, no, the whole body recoils. It feels like this feeling, and there's no energy towards it, but the mind can talk you into it. All right. This is how the voice of the sacral works. It's that simple. And so just to clarify, this is the authority series. Okay. So we are talking about the way that you are meant to make decisions, your way that you are meant to make decisions. Your strategy, the 4 pillars. So go back and watch the segment on the 4 pillars. The 4 pillars of your human design body graph. It talks about your type. It talks about your strategy. It talks about your authority. And then it talks about your signature and your not self theme. Your type indicates a strategy, the way that you're meant to operate in the world. If you are a generator type, your strategy is to respond. You can be a generator with an emotional authority. That's the way that you're meant to make big decisions. Emotional authority. That is not the same as if you have a sacral authority. Okay? So we're talking about your authority, the way that you're meant to make decisions. If you have an emotional center defined, you're not a sacral authority. You are a generator or a manifesting generator with an emotional authority. So you have sacral response as your strategy, but your authority, the way that you're meant decisions, is to move through emotional waves. And so if you want to know more about the emotional authority, because that probably would be the question that's coming up for anybody that's a generator watching this. And it's like, but wait, if you're an emotional authority, check out last week's segment. So if you have a sacral authority, the way that you're meant to make big decisions is an extension of your strategy, which is this yes, no. Now that special extension that makes this slightly different from your strategy, that is really important to understand, is that the sacral yes is not simply about what do I like? What do I want to do? What excites me? Sometimes some of my clients get really, they get a little bit confused about but thinking that a sacral yes is like, oh yeah, like this high, like super excited to do it. The dramatization of when like I'm showing you like an aha is like, aha, it's like that. I'm just exaggerating so that you get what I'm saying. But go back to the metaphors to help you to understand. The truth is what the sacral is doing is allowing the release of the unlimited energy. So it's either the hose valve opens and the floodgates are out, or the valve closes. So in addition to it being like an aha, it's very much tied to, do I have the energy to do this? So my sacral authorities, I want you to anchor this question into your mind. Do I have the energy to do this? That is, if the valve is open and you have the energy to do it, it's correct for you. Okay? Let me give you a perfect example. You might hate doing the laundry. You might absolutely hate doing the laundry. I picked that because it's very personal. No one in my household likes doing the laundry. Okay? No one in my household likes doing the laundry. So for a sacral authority, you might walk by that bag of laundry and it feels like, like body almost recoils. It's like, oh God, I can't do it right now. You don't have the energy to do it. 2 hours later, maybe the next day, you might walk by that same bag of laundry. You're not going to feel like, oh my God, you know what I've been waiting to do all day is laundry. Yeah. That's not what's going to happen. But you will walk by that bag of laundry because you are a mature adult human being who likes to have their clothes put away and order in their home. You're going to walk by that bag of laundry at some point and it'll be like, I have the energy. It's time. This isn't so conscious inside of your mind. It's not like you actually heard the thoughts go like, all right, I have the time. Let's do it. Something in your body is telling you, I have the energy to do this now. And you just do it. That is correct. That is the sacral That is the release of the energy to do it. That is what your sacral authority feels like. Do I have the energy to do this? Do I not? Every single thing that you do that you might have the energy for, it doesn't mean that it's lighting up your life and it's the most exciting thing in the world, but you have the energy to do it. That is a sacral yes. Okay? So in that in-between time, when you don't have the energy to do the thing, this is where you want to have like some conversation with some work. So let's say for this, the example with this laundry example, very personal to home. If my husband is doing the laundry, and I see this all the time, he's not a sacral authority, but he has a sacral. He'll do the laundry and it's like, his body does not have the energy to do the thing. Like, it's just like the bag is going to stay there because he doesn't. Is he capable of folding clothes? Of course he is. But it's just like the sacral it will not release the energy first. He can't do it. And it used to drive me freaking insane. And what we've kind of come to is that he will just, and this is what you want to do for those who are not a sacral authority and for those who are, give yourself permission to have this flexibility. And we'll talk more about like how to work with this. Okay. Give yourself permission to have that flexibility. And for those like me, I'm a splenic projector. I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, the laundry needs to get done. I'm just going to do it. It's not the same. It's not the same for him. And so I just hate seeing that bag being knocked about or sitting on the couch. I like hate seeing that freaking bag full of laundry. So what does he do? He takes it and he puts it in the closet away where nobody can see it. It doesn't bother me. And then when he has the energy, he'll go and do it. He will go and do it. And it's not that when he decided to fold the clothes, he's in love with laundry now. No, he's not. But he had the sacral energy to do it. Okay. I hope that this is making sense to you. And again, pop in any questions that are coming up. Okay. So yes is the energy to do the thing. Yes is an yes is a movement towards. It is a release of energy. The whole point here that we're getting to is the sacral center is a motor. It is full of energy, and how you release that energy is with an affirmative, is with a yes, I have the energy to do it. And when there's a no, I don't have the energy to do it, when you force the body into doing it, it is not correct for the body. And what will result is burnout. What will result is, feeling like you're exhausted all of the time, but you're not actually exhausted. You're just sacrally atrophied. It will be, maybe these reproductive issues that we're talking about. Like, it's about the energy is cut off and you're pushing the body anyways. This is where the issues start to come up. So yes, is I have the energy to do it. No, is I don't have the energy to do it. It's not necessarily I'm excited to do it And this is important for you to understand. I'm focusing on it for my sacral authorities because it's like, well, what am I supposed to? Okay, so you just want me to walk around in life and be like, I don't want to. So I guess generators just don't have to do anything that they don't want to do. It's not that simple. And I actually think that it is an incredible and beautiful lesson. And human design is full of these lessons for the collective in all the different aspects. What a beautiful paradox that we were given that really makes us question some of these beliefs that we have. The type that was made for work, the type that was the whistle as you work type, the type that was created with unlimited energy is also the type that just can't access energy sometimes when there's no movement towards what it is that they want to do. So that really begs us to question this belief system around that work is associated with drudgery. It's not true. I see sacral beings all the time find satisfaction in the completion of a task. It's not that it's the most exciting task to you, but there's this joy in the doing of things. There is the satisfaction in the completion of things. I've seen my husband have an extremely crazy day at work sometimes and come home and be like, oh my God, it was insane. And there was all these demands and there was this and this. And then he's like, I kind of feel like this like sick thrill. Like that's the term that he used. And I'm like, that's freaking satisfaction. It's not that he's obsessed with those tasks, but there is this sense of satisfaction. So something I work on often with my clients is starting to recognize, what does satisfaction actually feel like to you? Because you'll start to realize that you'll feel satisfaction in a great coffee. You'll feel satisfaction in, an amazing conversation, like things that it's like, oh, well, that's obvious that feels good. You'll also feel satisfaction in like fixing that. You're not a plumber, but you fixed the leak under the sink. You had the energy to do it. You went and you did it. For some reason, you looked at it and you're like, I'm doing this. I can do this. And you went and you fixed the sink instead of calling the plumber this time, and you did it. And it's like, I did that. You're not ready to be a plumber now. Like, that doesn't mean that that's going to be your job now or that you're excited to do that for the rest of your life. But there was a satisfaction in the work. The generator is the builder. Remember, generator types are here to build. And so this release of energy is so important for the building. It's important in the quality of what's being made. So satisfaction can even come from tasks that you don't love. The key, your work, is really distinguishing the difference between, I don't have the energy and I'm forcing myself to do it, and I don't love that, but I actually do have the energy to do it. Okay, I'll do it. And it requires you to start listening to the body. Okay. A lot of this work for the Sacral Authority is building this physical relationship with your body. Learning what are the sensations of your body like. A really powerful clue that your relationship with your sacral is impaired is if you are quiet. You are a quiet generator type. Generators grunt. They make noises. They go, ugh. I'm surrounded by generators. Y'all grunt. Y'all make noises. And there is a sound, a movement, a physicality, a movement towards a contraction, an expansion and a contraction. These are all clues of the energy of the sacral being released, the energy of the sacral being contracted. Contraction. Like movement towards expansion, energy release. I'm known to, in coaching sessions with my clients, I'll ask a question and I'll get a yeah, and I'm like, okay, I'm just letting you know, I saw your sacral say no. And usually what I'll get back is like a laugh, like oh my God, You're so right. It did. Like it did contract. And it's like, yeah, but I don't, we're not here to argue with it. We're here to listen. So the work is really, and this is why it's like, it's simple, but it's complex, is that you're so fast to override your sacral with your mind. You're so fast to override your sacral with your mind. It's physical. It's sensational. The mind speaks in thoughts. The body speaks in feelings and sensations. So this is not about I should. This is about I have the energy to. Okay? I hope that this is landing. Another really helpful way to practice building a relationship with your sacral is giving yourself things to respond to. So I talk about this when I talk about the sacral response in general. So the strategy of the generators and the manifesting generators. You could scroll. If you have a problem with scrolling, fine. Like if you're a doom scroller, obviously don't do this. But a really helpful way is to just designate, if you really want to build this relationship with your sacral, designate, like put a timer on for like 5 minutes and scroll on some sort of social media or Pinterest. You could do Pinterest and listen to your body, listen to the grunts. Ooh, oh, ooh, ugh, aha, oh, whoa, Just watch yourself scroll and make the noises and listen to the sounds that your sacral brings from you. If you have a healthy relationship with your sacral, you grunt, you make noise. If you're a manifesting generator, a lot of this can come out more in words, and that's because of the defined throat, the motor to the throat. And so that could be more of like instead of like it's like a aha, oh, yes. Oh, I love that. That's great. Like it might be more words, but practice it. Go out for a walk and just look at your body, respond to things. I remember I've done this with my partner, and I've done this with friends where we're going on sacral walks where we just like go outside. And when we get to a corner, we let the sacral decide which direction to go. Feel the pull. See how you respond to those trees, like the certain lighting in storefronts, like you start to feel what that feels like in your body. Any way that you can, it could be flipping through a magazine. Like there's so many different ways that you can practice this relationship with your sacral to start understanding what it feels like. But the key thing here is that you're meant to make decisions in the now. It is a yes, a no, or an I don't know. And an I don't know is a no for now. Now, here's the thing. Just because something is an right now, it doesn't mean it might not be an aha later. It's because it's about the energy. This is why it's so important to understand that this is about the energy. It's not like this is determined for forever. It's that I might not have their energy now. This might not be the right timing now. So yes, the truth is only in the now. But an I don't know or an no for now is just simply that, a no for now. Who knows what the universe has planned for you in the interim until the release of the energy, the aha. And so let's talk about this like really practically, like what this looks like in real life. Because what the mind is going to want to tell you, first off, is that like, well, I'm not going to be able to live like a real human being because I can't just decide for myself when I want to do things and when I don't. But yes, you can. And in a way, you already do by abusing yourself with your mind. So it's just doing it in the opposite way and aligned. And so this takes a bit of creativity, and this takes a bit of consciousness. This takes being present with the self. So when you, let's say it's some sort of work task, and you genuinely do not feel the energy to do it. And the thing is fascinatingly, so often with my clients, they actually do have the energy to do the thing. Oftentimes they do have the energy to do the thing. Why? Because they've committed to it. When we zoom out, the things that you're doing in your life, including the job that you hate, you committed to it for something, even if it's just for the money. So there was a yes in all of that. And so oftentimes it's like the greater yes, I actually do have the energy to do this thing right now, but it's about consistency over time. So if you are consistently putting yourself in a situation where you are denying your desire, it leads to this burnout. But it's about the story that you tell yourself. So if you really do have the energy to do the thing, and you find yourself having the energy to do the thing, it's about telling yourself, reminding yourself the why. It's about realizing the choices that you made when you made them and how you're committed to it. It's about feeling, understanding why that sacral is actually releasing a yes in that, because it equals this and this and this for me. If it is genuinely a matter of, there are often times where I just feel a sacral no often, then it's about committing yourself, finding the overarching why, the yes, and committing yourself to that change. However, over time. And that is where like trust comes in. This is where willingness to put yourself out there. This is where trying new things, that courage that I talked about in the beginning, the willingness to fail. This is where this all comes in, because a lot of times this comes down to a story of like, I don't have choice. And a lot of sacral beings have just decided I don't have choice, because from a very young age, most parents don't know to ask a generator or a manifesting generator, like, do you want this or that? It's like, what do you want? And they get like and it's like, what's wrong with this kid? What do you want? Tell me. From a very young age, generators and manifesting generators unfortunately think that there's something inherently wrong with them because they don't know how to make decisions. And so what happens? They start relying on other people to make decisions for them, society to make decisions for them. You make the decision for them. More than anything else, my generator, manifesting generator clients are the ones who are like, basically like, tell me what to do. So what should I do? And it's like, no. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm guiding you to learn how to listen to your own guidance system, because you have one. You're just so trained out of it. The biggest issue for sacral authorities is people, sacrals in general, is feeling like they don't know what they want. I don't know what I want. But this is because we are not taught to make decisions in this physical way. Even the simple thing of what do you want to eat, like I gave that example, we're not taught to make decisions in this way. So if you can release the judgment and the story about the wrongness of not knowing, and allow more fun, allow more curiosity, allow more willingness to make mistakes, allow more trust, and follow what your sacral is pulling you towards, you will be very, very surprised. And this is what I see with the sacral authorities that I work with, when they start really understanding how that release of energy works. So like my mind is blown. I realize how many times I've talked myself out of something, or I realize how many times I have taken somebody else's word before my body's. And then what it leads to is a chronic sense of distrust, because you find yourself in frustration because the decision that you made was not the right decision. And therefore it comes down to is, I don't know what I'm doing in my life. No, that's not what it is. You're not incapable. You just have not learned. You have not been taught. You have not experimented with what it feels like to not use your mind to make these decisions. So in a real life sense, if you are at your job, this isn't like, I'm not going to do any more work in your job. If you genuinely feel like your sacral is saying, I don't, there's an like I don't have the energy to do this. What shifts can you make? What do you have the energy for? There's usually an aspect that you do have the energy for. Ask Think about that. Like, where can you put your energy towards? There's something that you're going to look toward. Maybe I don't want to answer that email, but I might actually feel like editing this report, or I might feel like doing that little piece of research, or I might feel like, or maybe I do want to respond to the email, but I don't want to. You'll be surprised as to what you have the energy for. And again, remember, this isn't about feeling amazingly excited about doing the thing. Do I have the energy for it? Can I shift the timing? Another powerful question. Can I shift the timing? So, can I do it tomorrow? Do I have to do this right now? Do I always have to drag myself through a task that I don't have the energy for because I've decided that this is the way that this has to go? This is where the creativity comes in. Okay? I hope that this is all making sense to you. So on the other end of this, I just want to repeat, if you feel like there are things in my life that like I have to do in this moment, and I feel like I don't want to do it, bring your consciousness online. And when you bring your consciousness online, this is where you're going to use your mind in a helpful way rather than an unhelpful way. And this is the work that goes into like really into your experimentation with your human design. There is very often this greater duty when you think of like, oh, I have this duty to do this task that I don't want to do. Like, I really don't want to bring the kids to soccer every Thursday. It's so annoying and inconvenient that I have to reorganize my Thursday evening every single week. And I love being able to offer my children extracurricular activities. And I'm committed to being a really, really great parent. And I know this matters to them. And when I look at that little face and how excited they are to go, like everything in me is lit up. Like I feel a release of energy for that. Like you will be surprised how your sacral will respond to a different stimuli. And so start using your consciousness, my sacral authority, start using your consciousness in a way that is helpful to you rather than simply in this punitive way or this forceful way of bullying yourself, bad talking yourself, making yourself wrong, telling yourself you're stupid, telling yourself you don't know anything, all of these things. We want to blend this relationship between a very physical decision-making mechanism that is guiding me with a release and a restraint of energy, and bringing my consciousness online that like I respect my sacral. I respect this energy that I've been given. And so do I simply not do this thing right now? Or is there an aspect that I do like, that I do want to do, or that I do have the energy for? Can I shift my timing? Work with flexibility. Okay. So a really important aspect for me when it comes to working with the sacral authority clients that I have is I want you to start building this relationship with satisfaction and fun and flexibility and just more of a lightness, bringing more of a lightness into your decision-making mechanism, how you make decisions in life. It's simple, and there's a lot that you get to work with. But one of the beautiful things is that it is so simple. It's so clear. It's just, I have the energy, I don't. It's it's or it's, I guess it's no for now. We'll see. Maybe I ask a different question. Maybe I will come back to that another time. This is the simplicity of the guidance system. This is only going to make sense to you when you start experimenting with it. That is the only way that this is going to make sense to you. It is so important to almost give your entire head and brain a shake. Do a release that, like, whoa, nobody has taught me how to work. Like, we've never been taught to work like this. It seems like this is intuitive, it's supposed to be intuitive, but it doesn't necessarily feel intuitive. You're normal. You're normal. But one thing is for sure is that once you start really building this relationship with your sacral, once you start communicating with your sacral, once you start listening to it, once you start understanding what the release of energy feels like, what you start understanding what the constraint of energy feels like, it's gonna feel really good. Like it'll make sense then, you know? So you can't come to this cognitively. The cognitive aspect is for you to just get it. I just need you to get what I said. Understand what I said, and then go live it. Go do it. Feel what it feels like when you don't have the energy to do something and you make yourself do it anyways. What does it feel like in your body? Feel what it feels like when you have the energy to do something. What does that task feel like? Feel what it feels like. Recognize what it feels like when you don't necessarily like the thing, but you have the energy to do it. There's some sort of satisfaction in that. Even if it's folding the laundry, it's the satisfaction of completing it. Start paying attention to the nuances of the simplicity of this. And you will learn special things for yourself in a way that, like, I can never, teach you. Like I'm describing this and I'm sharing this from observation of all the sacrals in my life, but I don't have one. I don't know what that feels like for myself. But you have to be willing to release this conditioned way of operating, which is like very strictly with the mind, weighing the pros and cons. It's going to require that courage that I shared in the beginning. That courage, this willingness to fail. Because the truth is that in many ways, you've already been willing to fail in all the ways that you have not used your authority in the right way. In the amount of ways that you've let your mind override what your body is telling you. These are like these little micro chinks in our own relationship with our decision-making system. So any questions that are coming up, ask me, let me know. I hope that this was helpful to you. You can pop in any questions at any time. Like even if you're watching on the replay, put in the questions and I can make another video, or we can, I can answer the questions in there. But this is something that you're going to very much build over time, and you want to practice really having that relationship with your sacral. So practice the swirling, practice going for a walk, listen to the sounds that you make, the grunting, feel the energy of your body moving towards things, feel the energy of your body of moving away from things. Like start to really feel how physical this decision-making process is. Okay. That is really going to help you to start to understand, like, oh, I get it, that like the energy is released. Oh, I get it, that there isn't any energy there. Oh, I get it, that I don't necessarily want to do this, but I do have the energy. So one of the questions that has come up to me before, I'm just looking to see if there was any questions that I wanted to cover. one of the questions that, and actually this topic is something that we have been talking about in my Collective Perspective membership, that clients find themselves like shifting in and out of. And oftentimes it comes down to work. So for example, I'm doing a job that I hate for the money. We have to connect satisfaction, which is your true self theme, as a generator type. Okay. So all of these 4 pillars that I talked about in the 4 pillars HD Thursday, go back and look at that one. All of these aspects are important. We're zooming into one aspect of your chart. Your true self theme, your signature, it really guides a lot of how this is all meant to operate. Satisfaction is one of the greatest things that releases energy. So here's the thing that you can tell that you're using your mind, not listening to your body. I like the money that my job gives me. I have no energy releasing. Your mind is deciding that's a good idea. Satisfaction feels like, I don't really like this job. I really like that paycheck. I love when that paycheck comes in. I have the energy to do this. That is the difference between your sacral releasing energy and your mind is telling you, I must do this. There is no aspect in living in alignment where you are meant to do what your mind says, even though your body says no. So trying to convince yourself that you should do something because you like the outcome is an automatic sign that you're using your mind. That is not how your body's wisdom works. Now, if this is a scenario, for example, this is a personal example, but I don't have a sacral. But many people, my own coach started out this way. She had a regular 9-to-5 job, and she transitioned her way out of her 9-to-5 job fully into her coaching business when her 9-to-5 job matched what her coaching business made her. You can be in a position where you don't love what it is that you're doing, but you're not trying to be homeless. Like, you're not trying to not have any money in your bank account. That is a commitment to ourselves. Part of being an adult, period, is going to involve having aspects of your life where there are things that you might not necessarily want to do that you have to do. But where this really, really gets sticky is treating your body like a slave versus, I'm going to do this while I work towards that. There's satisfaction in one. I'm not trying to just do nothing in the meantime. Mind you, that's right for some people. There are some people who are like, I am better off. Me having access to my energy is better than going to this job today. That could be right for you, for that person. And so for the Sacral Authority, do you want to quit your job? Uh-huh. Okay. That might be right for them. And then in the freedom from there, having all of their sacral energy released to them, they build something incredible. They go in a different direction, and that's right for them. For someone else, the fear, the anxiety, the not knowing where the money is coming from, that can be more distressing to them and their nervous system than the other. And so in that case, it's not about, I'm going to use my mind and bully my body into doing things that it doesn't want to do because I need money, and then perpetuate the story of you being a powerless being. You are not a powerless being. And I guarantee if I had you one-on-one and we got to break this down, there are endless limiting beliefs in there. One such as, I can't do something that I like and make money. Says who? Says who? Like, I guarantee that I could find all these little places where I'm like, That's not necessarily true. That's limiting belief. That's limiting. I'm not sure. So the idea is that you have real life things that you have to navigate in life. Start with the awareness of knowing. Do I genuinely have the energy to do this? Do I want to do this thing? Do I feel satisfaction in this thing? If that is a no, what am I doing about it? Even while I stay committed to myself and like sustaining my life, because that is where the betrayal of the self happens. So this is something that I work on in with one-on-one clients is, and we go back to this beginning of willingness to fail, the courage, all of this stuff. Sometimes we would rather be willing to treat our bodies like a slave and drag ourselves through something that we literally don't have the energy to do. And so you're a burnt out sacral authority generator type who says, oh, I'm so exhausted and I'm tired all of the time. What do you mean generators have unlimited energy? I have no energy. It's not, I need to lie down. I just want to relax on the couch. I just want to just do nothing. That is the opposite. What's actually happening is your body is not feeling its energy. And so you actually need to do. It's not about relaxing. I'm so tired. I have no energy. No, you are simply dragging your body through a kinked off hose. There is a kinked off hose. There's no energy flow, and you're making yourself do all kinds of things that you don't want to do. That is the difference. And so you would rather sometimes drag yourself through treating your body like a slave than addressing, and this is where everything comes down to the spirituality and these things at the core, rather than addressing the I have a fear of change, rather than addressing that there is a massive limiting belief that I have that this is the only job that I can do, or this is the only way that I can make money. Or like, oh, but I went to school and I have this freaking degree. What do you mean don't use it? For every single story that you have for yourself, there is an example on this planet of somebody who did the exact opposite. A lot of times, we're almost more used to harming ourselves in these unconscious ways simply by our conditioning and living out of alignment, rather than learning how my authority works, learning what it feels like to listen to the true decision-making mechanism in my body, and then addressing all the things that are like, but I'm not supposed to. I was told I wasn't supposed to. You're not allowed to do that, are you? Am I allowed to do that? And working on all of that stuff. That's how that goes. The misconception comes around like, well, it should feel easy. Well, it should feel like I'm so excited. Well, it should feel like, no, I see courage and fear. And one of the sayings that I heard this week that like I loved so much was that there is no courage without fear. There is fear without courage, and it just feels like fear. I laughed so hard when I heard that, but there is no courage without fear. By definition, you wouldn't require courage without fear. And so there's nothing wrong with having fear or there being unknowns. But it's this commitment to self, this willingness to change, this willingness to be open to doing different than the mind tells you, the willingness to feel the difference between body wisdom and mind chatter. And that's a different kind of work, right? But there are a lot of limiting beliefs often behind where we're just like, well, I can't do that. I would love to challenge you on that. I would love to challenge you on your belief of I can't. I can't or I won't. I can't or I'm afraid to. That's okay. You're allowed to be scared. Plenty of people are scared and have done the most magnificent things in the world, right? So this is where our like real deep work is. Like I'm giving you the framework. And then as you move between it, this is why coaching is so effective. because you can know everything in your mind, and it doesn't mean that navigating it is the same thing as knowing it, right? And so these are the things that come up as a sacral authority, as someone who is given this really unlimited energy to build towards something in your life, and have been conditioned to think that there's an exact way that you're supposed to go through life, what you should do, how you should do it, when you should do it. From the very, very jump, there's a distrust in the self. And so you're rebuilding from the root this relationship of like flipping everything on its head. My truth is in the now. My energy releases. My sacral energy releases with an I have the energy to do it or I don't, with an aha or an or an I don't know, meaning it's a no for now. How can I navigate where that energy is? Because the truth is there's plenty of things that I have energy for. And are there things that I just don't have energy for now? Or are there things that I don't have the energy for, period? That's for you to find out. And what could potentially happen if you started actually listening to it? It might blow your freaking mind. Is it going to feel scary? Yes. Yes. Is it okay to be afraid? Yes. This is what courage is for. This is what guidance is for. This is what coaching is for. This is what resources is for. This is what community is for. You can do it. You can do it. This is what your experimentation is all about. And a beautiful space to be supported in this is in my community, the collective perspective. You just got a pep talk. We went beyond the meat and potatoes of the Sacral Authority. I just gave you a pep talk because I hear you, and I hear you, Sacral Authorities. I hear you, generators and manifesting generators. It's just like, but I can't. And it's like, you can. You can. You can. It's, and bringing it here. You are very physical beings. The most energy, the most creative force in the system, the sacral. The shift comes when you learn to listen to the body's guidance. And when you hone and master the simplicity of the Sacral Authority, unfreaking stoppable. I mean, I genuinely, some of the most unstoppable forces to be reckoned with individuals that I've encountered in this industry have been Sacral Authority generators and manifesting generators. Just what? And half the time they didn't know what, this is the thing. They didn't know they were going to do that until they did it. They got the aha, and then they went because they really learned to build this trust. Next week, we're jumping into Splenic Authority, which is my authority. I'm so excited for that. And there's a lot of trust there too. So I'm speaking from personal experience when I'm saying to you, I understand what it feels like to have trust be such a massive core aspect of your authority, because mine is an intuitive authority, and to just learn to a knowing that came out of nowhere felt insane in the beginning. Like, what do you mean? That makes no sense. What is that voice and what is it saying? And it's crazy. Like, this is what it felt like. And just experimenting, trusting, taking a leap of faith, being courageous, time and time and time again. I was like, holy shit, it's right every freaking time. And every time I didn't listen, it was not right. It's very similar. It's a different mechanism. It's an immediate mechanism. It's a mechanism that is like you can access at any point. That's the other incredible thing about Sacral Authority. Sacral Authority is accessible to you at any time. That is one difference from any other authority. The sacral always responds. I have an intuitive authority, meaning I have knowings that come out of nowhere. I can't make it happen. I can't make the knowing happen. But a sacral always responds in the now. So with the stimulus to respond to, with the outer question, the aha or the energy to or the energy not to is always there. That is such a gift. That is such a gift. Where it gets tricky is like, am I willing to blindly listen and trust because it's guiding me in the best way possible for me? Okay. You gotta coaching with great pep talk, sacral authorities. And we're currently deepening this inside of my Collective Perspective membership, because the gene key that we've been contemplating this month ties in so heavily in a lot of the stuff that we talked about today. And specifically, one of my brilliant members made this correlation between she realized that we're contemplating gene key 14, which is all about compromise, competence, and bounteousness. This is one of the most prosperous gene keys or gate 14 in the human design system, in the gene key system. It's about prosperity. So that's probably why, money and stuff is coming up for me. And she made this brilliant correlation that I realize that my ability to access the frequency of competence, so the shadow is compromise, and think about that. Think about that, sacral authorities. How often are you compromising yourself? How often the shadow frequency is what's chosen because it's what I should do, because I'm scared, and I'm not downplaying what it feels like to be afraid. I've been terrified. I've required courage so much in my life. So the shadow is compromise. The gift is competence. And sacrals it's all about doing. It's all about the energy of doing it. So, and this gene key, this gate is in the sacral center, so that makes work. It's all about this powerful passion and energy to do something that lights the sacral up, that lights up the energy of the person. And at the highest frequency is bounteousness, meaning prosperity is available when you're just willing to blindly put your all of your energy into this work that you love. And she said, I realize that my ability to access the frequency of competence is directly connected to me being able to follow my sacral response, to follow the aha. And she's been using her mind, society, all of these things to make so many of her decisions. And it leads to frustration, not satisfaction. So if you have all the money in the world and you are not satisfied and you are miserable, it's not really much of an accomplishment. Unless your accomplishment is to be miserable and have a lot of money, which I don't think it is, because you probably wouldn't be watching this. So a great place to come in and deepen this conversation, get guidance, have support of an entire community that freaking gets you. We get each other. You know what I mean? Whether you have a sacral or not, I get it. The other members in the group, they get it. You know what I mean? Completely get, how often are we just not willing to trust what it is that is for us, that we know because of what we should or what we're supposed to or what we've learned to be comfortable in, even if that comfort is our own dissatisfaction, So I hope that pep talked you into just being courageous enough to try. That's why we call it experimentation. Just try. Just start seeing what happens. Start seeing what happens. get curious enough with yourself to start seeing what happens when you really start to listen to that energetic flow. So the reflective question for you that I want to give you is, do I have the energy to do this right now? You really want to ask yourself, do I have the energy to do this right now? Did I want this, or did someone outside of me want this? And yes, it could be as simple as the laundry. And yes, this is a personal example because it is very easy for me to get annoyed when the laundry is not done. But don't do it for your part. Don't just do it because your partner says so. Do I have the energy to do this? No? Okay, put it aside for later. You will have the energy at some point because you do care about your things and you do care about your life. So that ultimate underlying fear of everything is going to fall apart if I don't listen to what I should and I'm supposed to do. It's not true. It's not true. That is a protector inside of you trying to not change things. It's telling you don't rock the boat. You're not trying to blow up your life. You know, every single thing that's guiding you, even some of the more self-destructive decisions that we make for ourselves, the driving force underneath is actually wanting to make things better. We just sometimes would rather choose maladaptive ways that feel more comfortable or practiced rather than adaptive ways that are new. So get brave, get courageous, experiment. Do I have the energy to do this? And your body is the one that's answering, do I not have the energy to do this? And start using your mind as a friend, as a creative force that tells you the truth. I love you. Thank you for hanging out with me this Thursday. Please drop any questions that come up. You can re-listen to this, put it in the comment section. If you do want a community to be supported in, come into the collective perspective. We would absolutely adore having you. It is just such a powerful thing to have, to not do this alone. You don't have to do this alone. So come into that space. If you don't really understand how any of this works and you're new to it, or you've never heard it in a way that really made sense to you, and you have a feeling that the way that I'm explaining actually really, really works for you, book yourself a reading. And all of the links for this are in the description box. If this is more of like, I get what I have to do, but honestly, I can't, or it's just, I'm too scared, or it's just like, it's impossible. I don't care what you say. It's impossible. It's not possible for me. I promise you that's not true. And if there is a drive within you that you really want to be satisfied in your life, that's the reason you're even listening to something like this, then if you're willing to explore how can I see that this is possible for me, book a session and we can break it down. I love you. Next week, we're jumping into Splenic Authority. We're moving on to Splenic Authority next. That's my authority. It's going to be great. I hope to see you then. If this has been really helpful for you, if you find this fun, if you find this informative, please follow, like. It really, really helps and boosts the algorithm to let more people see it, and share. Feel free to share to anybody, because I do think that every single person having more understanding of how they work as a unique being only helps the entire globe. It's only helping all of us. So if this has been helpful for you, it's very often likely that it's helpful for someone else. So if you feel inclined to, please share, like, follow. All of that really increases the reach to the wider world. I love you guys. I will see you next Thursday. Cheers again. Happy grunting. Let me know how your grunting goes. Let me know what you do to test out your relationship with your sacral. If you come up with really, really cool ideas for how to do it, also put it in the chat. Let other people know what has worked for you, or what that relationship with your sacral has been like, and what the change is when you're using your mind versus when you're using your sacral. Love you guys. I'll see you next week. Ciao.